Hi, this is a little film to help you find your way around your new harp, because you need to be able to find your way around your harp and know which strings or which letter name in order to be able to tune it correctly. So I hope you're going to enjoy having a harp and we'll have lots of fun with it. Now you probably have at least 26 strings. All the strings on your harp have a letter name. We use the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. After that, we repeat again. So after G comes A again. So go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, unhelpfully, the bottom string is not necessarily going to be an A. So how I tend to help my students, if their bottom string is a C, which is a red string, and lots of people do have C as their bottom string, so a red string at the bottom, then just to imagine that you've got an extra 2 strings at the bottom and say A, B, and then you can go C, D, E, F, G, because for some children it's quite difficult to count from C, to kind of launch in from C. They need to go back to A to be able to work it out. Okay, so you might think that if you're counting up from the bottom of your harp, you would get C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, etc., like the white notes on the piano. And I know that's kind of what I just said now, but it is half true, but it's not the whole story, because the strings on the small harp do not correspond exactly to the white notes on the piano. The strings on the small harp are in effect a mixture of some of the white notes on the piano and some of the black notes as well. And this means that some harp strings don't just have a letter name. So although they do have a letter name, they also have a surname, and their surname is flat. Now, the strings with this surname are the B strings, the E strings, and the A strings. So when you're counting up the strings and working out their letter names, every time you get to a B, an E, or an A, these strings are actually called on the harp B flat, E flat, and A flat. Now, what is a flat? Well, I have got another film about that, but just briefly, I like to think of flats in terms of being like flat tyres. So if you've got a flat tyre on a car, it causes your car to go down. So the same is true of a flat in music. Flats make the notes a little bit lower than they would otherwise be. So a B flat is a little bit lower than a regular B. Now I'm just going to draw, if I can find something to draw on, a picture of a flat, so you know what it's going to look like if it comes up on your electric tuner. So it looks like that, okay? A bit like a triangular B. That's what a flat sign looks like. Okay, now you do not automatically have any regular, normal, natural Bs on your harp at all. You don't have any natural E's on your harp at all. You don't have any natural A's on your harp at all. You only have the B flats, E flats, and A flats, unless you retune your harp or you adjust your levers if you have levers. So if you don't retune or adjust your levers, all your B strings will always be B flat, all your E strings will always be E flat, and all your A's will always be A flats. Now I'm going to show you a tuning key. This is one of mine. Now, some tuning keys will fit lots and lots of different harps. Some will only fit one particular harp. So you can't necessarily have a generic one if you've got more than one instrument that's going to fit them all. Also means if you're going to your teacher's house, it's a good idea to take your tuning key with you, because the one that he or she has got might not necessarily fit your instrument. Okay, so if we want to tune a particular string, so here we go. So I'm going to look at this one here. Now, how would I tune that? Go right up to the top and you find that there's a metal pin. Now, traditionally, the metal pin should go right through to the other side of your harp, and that's really useful for tuning because it means you can sit or stand behind the harp. You can put your electric tuner on a music stand or on your knee, and you'll be able to easily see the display while keeping one hand holding strongly onto the tuner, because you don't want to drop that. It might feel like it will balance on the peg, and it will, and it might for quite a long time, but if it falls off, it's going to smash your soundboard, which would be a bit of a disaster. So we don't want that. So make sure that whenever you're using a tuning key, hold on to it tightly. Don't take your hand off to pluck the string. So you're going to have to pluck the string with the hand that hasn't got the tuner. Okay. Now, some harps, so that's quite easy this way around, because look, I can pluck with this hand and I can turn with the other hand. Works quite well. But I am aware that some of the more basic model instruments and some of the newer ones, the pin doesn't go right the way through, in which case you're going to have to do it a bit differently, because you're going to have to put the pin on this side. So you have to find a way of doing it. You could look at the harp as if it's a loom. You could sit and look at it like this, and you have to put it on here and pluck like this and turn it a little bit like that. But as long as you're not letting go of this, that's the main thing, because you really don't want it to smash your soundboard. Okay, so how do we actually go about doing this? Well, I've got an electric tuner here, and that's going to tell me whether a note's in tune. Now, can you see it says 440, and 440 is what we want. If it doesn't say 440, there's little arrow calibration buttons just here for up and down, so you can take it up and down until it reads as 440. And then can you see there's also a note letter name coming up in the middle, and that tells us the note that we're playing, or obviously I must be speaking at a pitch that it's coming up like that. Okay, so we play the string that we wish to tune, and we need to check that the display is coming up with the right letter name, and that's really important, because if we just look at the arrow, we want the arrow to be in the centre, and that means that the string is in tune, but it could be in tune but playing completely the wrong note. So we need to look at the letter name that's coming up as well. Okay, and ideally the pointer will come to the centre of the display. The green light will show, but no red lights. Now for beginners, it's easiest to start with your very bottom string and work your way up towards the top. So the letter names that should come up, if your string at the bottom is red, that's a C, okay? So you'll get C, then D, then E flat, which, remember, the flat sign looks like that, so it'll be an E and then one of those. Then F, then G, then A flat, then B flat, then C. And then we go around again. C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. Now, sometimes on some tuners, the E flat will register as what's called a D sharp. Now, D sharp is just a different name for an E flat, okay? The sharp sign looks like that. Okay, the one at the bottom, a bit like a hashtag. Okay, so if you are playing what you think is an E flat, and it's registering as D sharp, that's okay. Same thing with A flat. It's possible that your tuner might register it as a G sharp. That's okay, that's the same thing. I think B flat will always come up as B flat. Occasionally, I suppose it could come up as an A sharp, and again, that's the same thing, but normally I think a B flat should register properly as a B flat. Okay, in terms of how much you actually need to turn, it's not very much at all. It's quite easy to break strings on a harp. If you did a massive turn like that, you could well break the string. Quite small turns will actually make a huge difference, and particularly at the very top of the harp, it's really, really tiny turns, and sometimes if it's only a teeny bit out of tune and you're trying to tune it, you end up kind of making it worse. So I suggest that you start tuning from the bottom. If you start tuning from the top, it puts too much tension on the soundboard. Eventually, what professionals tend to do would be to tune 8 notes kind of roughly in the middle and then work out from that. But I think for beginners, start at the bottom. Now I'm going to show you how much I actually turn it. Okay, so here we go. Now, I think I already deliberately took this one quite out of tune. Let's have a look. I did. So it's actually, now that should be a C. But can you see it's registering as a C sharp? So that's like massively too high. So I need to bring it down a bit. have a look at what that's saying now. So now it is down to a C, so it's on the correct note now, but it still needs to come down a bit more. So I'm checking it against the one below. So that's about right. But I don't know whether you saw, I was never doing a massive turn like this or like that. It's just tiny, tiny turns. And again, it'll depend exactly on how your harp is strung. They always used to be strung the same way, so you could say for definite, you need to turn it this way, or you need to turn it the other way. But I'm aware that different harps now, sometimes the strings are wound in a different way, so I don't want to confuse you. So you'll be able to work out which way is making it higher and which way is making it lower. Just do tiny, tiny bits, and then you'll think, yeah, my one works this way, and then you'll be able to work it out. Okay, thanks for listening.